Hello, thank you for your time today. I am Kimberlee Maloy, Clinical Nurse Educator in our Education Department. We are going to discuss the implementation of an exciting new technology platform at our Grand Junction VA. You have in front of you a more detailed version of our implementation plan. We will have a question and answer period at the end. This exciting new technology platform and its implementation into our transition to practice 12-month curriculum will be described, including what resources and training requirements will be needed. How we will evaluate the effectiveness of this technology will be discussed as well. The goal of this technology implementation is to provide a high-value curriculum to new graduate nurses that will result in positive outcomes in the retention of nurses and an increase in patient satisfaction and care. Certainly everything that we want. So we have a lot to cover in our time together. As you can see here, we have the plan change that we're going to discuss, implementation steps, as well as resource requirements for our end users, training and support, evaluation to establish if the technology is effective, performance measurement data will be how we will do that, and then we'll reach some conclusions. So Elsevier Transition to Practice e-learning platform is a new product with the following attributes. This is a separate product from the Elsevier clinical skills that we subscribe to. Administrator management is a major strength of it. Also, competency tracking is critical. We have been looking for this for a long time. A learning and performance dashboard is included as part of the platform to monitor learners. This is very exciting. And a reports menu is important to track progress. This e-learning will be integrated into the existing transition to practice face-to-face curriculum and become a blended learning. So here are the implementation steps. We'll go over them. So the first one is to set up a work group. This will be called an implementation and training work group, comprised of nurse educators, nurse managers, information technology or IT specialists, and a former transition to practice graduate. The graduate will certainly have insight into the implementation of this learning. Number two, we have to set a timetable, so we will do that. Number three, we will communicate with fellow educators about this new technology. We will also include our stakeholders, such as our nurse managers. Number four, we will review the one-year contract from Elsevier. Final approval and will be through the fiscal and education department. Then on number five, we have the fund control point that has to be identified. At that time, we can then submit a purchase card payment for the Elsevier subscription. So number six, we'll be integrating online modules with the face-to-face monthly curriculum. That's what will make it a blended learning. And then we'll, of course, need to develop our evaluations. More on that later. Number eight, we will set up user management training face-to-face for our new administrators. If for some reason the account manager cannot make it, then we do have the contingency plan of web-based training. So number nine, we're going to connect the VA IT specialist with the Elsevier clinical implementation specialist for coordination. And that gets us to our exciting number 10, which is to set a go live date. Once we do that, the workflow should be active. User management will be activated so that we can set up cohort groups and their access. So it's very important to assemble a team with the right skills, wouldn't you say? Our end users will need to have and or acquire technical skills, especially learning platforms. We want them to be able to accept change and be motivated and engaging. We need observable outcomes that add value to our organization. Train the trainer is very important for the VA educator to train new staff and not have dependence on that vendor. So over on the other side are capital resources. These involve the budget allocations for education by fiscal year. A 1-year contract has been verbally approved at this point, with a contract that gives an estimate of $7,100 for 5 new graduate nurses. So technical support requirements are important to go over. Elsevier uses a web-based application. However, the IT department of our VA would be tasked with following the minimum system requirements guide for installation of sound, media plugins, and other software. The IP or internet protocol ranges would need to be whitelisted. The VA firewall would be configured with the whitelist, which only allows specific IP addresses to access the network, so that security would be maintained. This would be an impact on the workload of the IT department initially for the implementation and for any IP changes. Thankfully, Elsevier has a troubleshooting issues page, but also it is managed through the account manager. Lastly, we will set up mobile applications for both educators and the transition to practice nurses that will be in compliance with VA policies, especially if any staff have mobile VA phones. So for successful implementation, there are end user requirements. Both educator and graduates will have their learning needs assessed as to who might need more assistance with this online platform. Presently, our educators are learning to be administrators on the Elsevier Clinical Systems platform that we already subscribe to. There will be differences, however, from one platform to another, and those are going to be taken into consideration. All nurses are users of the Elsevier clinical skills, and we've had no issues. There will be a different experience, though, with this one. Much more than just a one-time module to complete. This is a living platform, so to speak. End user performance expectations, we have those. Educators want this system to be user-friendly, fast, reliable, and evidence-based. Generating reports should be easy and to complete and to analyze. The transition to practice nurses who are struggling to be able to be identified early, as the product states. Graduate nurses expect the product to be user-friendly, fast, interactive, and add value to their learning. They expect to be able to navigate the program easily, both on their desktop and on their mobile devices. So training and support for end users involves both the transition to practice nurse educators and the graduate nurses. So on the nurse educator side, on-site training with the Elsevier account manager will be set up. They do the initial training. If they're unable to travel on site, there is that web-based training. The account manager also gives ongoing training and support, which is much appreciated. Updates are placed on Elsevier's support hub site. In fact, they've already made several updates since their 1-year development. On the nurse side, TTP or transition to practice nurse side, to be successful, new cohorts of graduate nurses would be introduced and trained as end users, taking into consideration generational learning needs. Very important, as we tend to have mixed populations that way. The program will be clearly outlined at the beginning of each cohort. The link you see is a very informative welcome video for the transition to practice nurses. We don't have time to play it today, but I will definitely send that to you. It gives an overview of their platform. The Learner's Professional Skills Guide is a written version of how to access and navigate the platform. And then lastly, there will be face-to-face instruction with graduate nurses to ensure competence in the new technology. And now we have to evaluate the effectiveness of this technology and curriculum. As this is a 12-month program, technology user experience, competency formative evaluations will be completed at months 3, 6, and 9. The curriculum is influenced by formative evaluations that monitor progress before the completion of the course. This is important for any changes that need to be made. At the conclusion of the program, curriculum and technology summative evaluations will be completed at month 12. Summative evaluations verify learning outcomes and evaluate curriculum effectiveness. Following graduation from the program, the nurse's ability to transfer all of their learning to their practice setting will be evaluated at months 6 and 12 with confirmative evaluations. Error reporting will be critical during this time. We want to analyze if participation in the program led to a reduction in errors over the first year. Retention is certainly a focus at this time. Finally, very exciting, is the transition to practice program that is now blended will be compared to the face-to-face only transition to practice program for differences in outcomes. Performance measurement data is how we will do our evaluations. The Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality recommends an evaluation team for the change project, which we will have. The evaluation will involve performance measurement data to track the effectiveness of the technology and the program. Data that can be extracted from Elsevier's is in the light blue diagram right there. And this includes satisfaction, confidence, gaps in knowledge, which is very important to catch things early, learning and performance, right up the alley with competency. And then post-graduation performance measurement data through the BA is in dark blue and includes user experience with the new platform, reduction in errors, retention at 6 months and 12 months with the addition of the annual proficiency at 12 months. Very important information. Now on your handout, transition to practice data will be collected through weekly journal entries, weekly surveys, administrator reports, post-tests, and Elsevier's dashboard for administrators. The VA will be able to collect transition to practice data through the quality department dashboards for error reporting and retention rates, preceptor reports, job satisfaction, and that annual proficiency. We've reached our conclusion and key points. So by successfully implementing this new technology, it can be expected that the following you see here will have positive outcomes. Cost effectiveness of this technology can be compared to retention of new nurses in the first year. $7,100 for 5 transition to practice nurses compared to the $44,000 to $56,000 it takes to replace one nurse is very significant. So what else can we expect? A unified curriculum that flows between the monthly face-to-face learning and the virtual learning of the Elsevier platform. Nurse and patient satisfaction outcomes will be positive. Evidence-based nursing care will be provided. Finally, the Elsevier transition to practice platform would be of high value to the VA with a positive impact on the learning outcomes of graduate nurses, aid in retention through the critical first year, and with the addition of this new technology, improve patient outcomes. The overall transition to practice program would become a blended curriculum, able to track competencies, which again we have been looking for, and become a standardized best practice across cohorts and VA facilities. The next two slides are our references, which is also on your handout. Okay, here we are at the question and answer period. I am very happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. I am also available to you for any further questions or feedback. With fiscal year 21 only 1 month away, we would like to begin implementation of this plan by the end of October. Thank you for your time and your consideration.